Good evening and thanks for joining us for this MTN special presentation. I'm Tim Mcgonigal.
And I'm Shannon Newth. We're coming to you tonight to ask for your help and to say thank you to those who have already given to the MTN Montana Wildfire Relief Fund.
The MTN Montana Wildfire Relief Fund is an effort to help those impacted most by the 2017 wildfire season. From the volunteer fire departments who race toward the flames to the community organizations who help families rebuild. First at 10. A large firefighting air tanker has been diverted back to Helena after losing one of its engines mid-flight. The P2V from Neptune Aviation, similar to the one seen in this graphic, made a precautionary landing at Helena Regional Airport around 6 o'clock this evening after being notified of an in-flight engine problem. Dan Snyder of Neptune says the crew was able to bring the plane to a landing without incident. Crews are already working on replacing the engine and anticipate it being back in the air tomorrow. Kathy Bushnell of the U.S. Forest Service says the aircraft was headed to a new unnamed wildfire near Dillon and other resources will be diverted in absence of the P2V. Well, a wildland fire that burned an estimated 40 acres near Great Falls this morning was caused by a hawk and a snake. The fire was reported at about 10:20 this morning near 3500 Rainbow Dam Road. There were no injuries and no buildings were burned, but several utility poles were damaged. The Black Eagle Volunteer Fire Department says that their investigation determined that a bird, likely a hawk, swooped down to grab a snake. As the snake struggled to break free, it smacked into a nearby power line, which then sparked, sending a current through the snake and the hawk, killing them both. Sparks then flew to the bone-dry ground, which triggered the fire.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 5:30 news continues on Krtv, Montana's news leader.
Welcome back. For a father and daughter, their life has come full circle, and it only took nearly half a century to do so. Last night, their long-awaited and social media-inspired reunion that spanned thousands of miles took place.
Some of them are coming up from down there, so I don't know which flight is which. So
Steve Smith is anxiously awaiting a moment more than 40 years in the making. The moment he will see his daughter Julie again. The retired Billings resident and Columbia Falls native was a security guard at Malmstrom Air Force Base in the early 70s. After he was reassigned to Soesterberg Air Force Base in Holland, he and his wife divorced. She took the kids. He had a lengthy stay in a German hospital following a car accident.
by the time I got out of Wiesbaden, the Air Force sent me home, and I just lost touch with everybody. And Julie was the stubborn one. She just one that stayed on track.
About a year ago, the pair amazingly met up through Facebook.
At first, I thought, no, this couldn't be, but by looking at her, I could tell she looks just like her mom. Yeah. So I knew right away it was her.
That led to regular meetings on Skype, and Julie told her somewhat skeptical father she'd like to meet him face to face for the first time since she was just a baby.
And then she showed me, sent me a ticket, and showed me a copy of the ticket, and that's how I found out she's coming.
And just before 10 on Wednesday night, Julie, her two sons, Nick and Sydney, and partner Maurice, completed their transatlantic trip from the Netherlands to the Electric City.
Oh, you look great. You feel great.
I love you, honey. I love you too.
Happy. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that I have the chance to meet him, that I have the chance to... We still have time, you know? It's not too late.
That's right.
Yeah?
Steve has a busy schedule planned to reintroduce Julie to her native Montana, including visiting the old Columbia Hospital in Great Falls, where she was born. There's also a family reunion planned in Columbia Falls, something Steve and Julie say is important because more than 4 decades later, their families have grown.
It was part of the reason that I wanted to do it also, because it's also their background of my two boys. You know, it's also their history. It's a little history, you know. It's a little. It's also their roots.
Well, Steve also has a son, Shane, from his first marriage. He says he's working on developing a relationship with him, too. Now, we've heard many stories this year about fighting fires, but the fight can begin long before a fire starts. Proper mitigation on your property is your best line of defense.
We live in the state of Montana. It's not a question of if we're going to get a fire. It's a question of when.
A solid wall of trees is not a healthy plant community.
Matt Daw is in the middle of a 4 to 8 year fuel mitigation project on his 160-acre ranch north of York.
You can't see more than 25 yards in here, and this was the mess that was left over from when the beetle kill came through here over like the last 7 years. And if a fire were to come through here, it would be gone. You couldn't, like I said,
all those little whips you've taken out.
right, you couldn't see any of it.
Working in consultation with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Daw is removing dead and dying timber from his property and eliminating ladder fuels that can turn a grass fire into a crown fire.
When we take these ladder fuels, when we trim down from as high up as we can reach down to the ground, and we get these junipers out, what's going to happen is the fire will come through here, it's going to burn the grass, it's going to burn the needle cast out of here, and it's going to continue past. It might scorch the bottom of the tree a little bit, but the odds of it going up that tree and getting into the upper fuels of that tree are very, very slim.
We've been trimming trees. We have weeded all the ground that's not grazed. Anything that, we've been working on it prior to the fire, actually.
And the Nickerson family continues to work even as the Alice Creek fire bears down on their ranch.
We've gotten rid of every kind of fuel that we possibly can. We've got chainsaws ready. We'll chop any tree we've got to get it to the ground.
That right there, if a fire comes through here, it's just going to burn everything underneath, and it's not going to get into the trees.
And as for Daw, as a volunteer firefighter, he feels good about the work he's done.
I feel very confident that if a fire were to come through here, we would minimize the damages to our property, and we wouldn't sustain any structural loss or anything of that.
Tim Mcgonigal, MTN News.
Welcome back. It's been said that a dog is man's best friend, but for many, a four-legged loyal pal can be much more. Tonight, we meet a woman who's spent nearly 20 years raising puppies that help others gain their independence.
Come on, you can do it. There you
To
go.
most, this looks like just another day in the park.
Yay. Good girl.
But for these best of friends, days like these will soon be over.
I just got her letter to take her back, so that's kind of sad.
Kim Monroe is a puppy raiser for Canine Companions for Independence, a California-based nonprofit that trains service dogs like Dea for the disabled.
So whether they're in a wheelchair or they just have trouble picking things up, opening doors, maybe they just get really fatigued, the dogs will carry things for them, so they just help them live independent lives.
Kim picked up Dea when the puppy was just 8 weeks old, and for almost a year and a half, she's been in charge of Dea's training.
And there's a lot of work that goes into them. It's 24/7, and I think people don't understand that. They just think, oh, I'm going to put a vest on my animal, they're well behaved. Well, there's so much more than that goes into raising a good service dog.
Dea, here. Good girl. Side. Side. Yeah, that's nice.
We potty train them before they go out in public, of course, and then we teach them basic commands. So we go to class a couple times a month to be socialized with other dogs, and then I start to bring her out into the community as well.
Dea's adventures have included trips to the youth orchestra, schools, even the doctor's office. And because she's so mellow, Dea even gets to accompany Kim to work. But don't let the laid-back attitude fool you.
Everybody always asks me, do you let them play? She gets plenty of playtime.
Yeah.
But when her vest is on, she knows that's time to be serious.
Okay.
When her gentle leader goes on, she's like, time to work.
In February, Kim will take Dea back to California for an emotional farewell and graduation ceremony. But she knows it will be more than worth the tears she'll shed.
If you raise a puppy that becomes a service dog, you get to hand the leash over to the person who gets them. The difference you see in the lives of the people that you give the dogs to, there is nothing to compare to that. That's why you can keep doing it. That's why I can keep doing it, because I know the impact that it has on people.
Kim has been volunteering with Canine Companions for 17 years, but she's only one of 2 of the organization's Montana puppy raisers.
We had a puppy loser last year, and we're desperately in need of puppy raisers.
Sure.
Yeah, because we have a waiting list of 1.5 years of people waiting for a dog. We can't do it without having our puppy raisers start them.
It's a cause that even Dea speaks of highly.
That a girl. Yeah, Dea.
And you can learn more about Canine Companions at krtv.com, including how you can become a volunteer and the difference between a service dog and an emotional support animal.